Gentlemen and ladies, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about why it's so much more effective to call girls on the phone as opposed to texting them when it comes to arranging dates. And it doesn't matter where you got this girl's phone number, from cold approach or from online. Calling is superior in every way, but especially online. Online girls you haven't even met before. You have no idea what they're like. This is why it's so important to call them beforehand so you know exactly what you're getting into. And you may save yourself, you may want to screen some of these girls out and be like, no, I do not want to meet this girl after I had a quick conversation with her. Let's go over all the advantages of calling versus texting. Okay, first, it's going to save you a ton of time calling girls instead of texting them. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes my schedule is really busy and the girl's schedule is very busy, and it can be very difficult to coordinate your schedules. You're constantly texting back and forth. Does this time work for you? Does this day work for you? No, it doesn't. How about this day? No, that doesn't work for me. How about this day? It's constantly going back and forth, trying to figure out a time, place, date that works. Whereas you could just call her and sort all of this out in a 1 to 5 minute conversation. And every time you're texting back and forth, you can easily get lost in the shuffle because it's taking so long, for it to, guys get on the same page. Whereas when you call her, you can figure out everything. You can figure out her logistics, her schedule, if she drives or if she takes transit, how far away does she live? How easy is it for her to get to your location? You can figure out all this stuff out within 5 minutes. So yes, this is why it's way more effective simply to call girls instead of texting them. You can actually build comfort when you talk to girls on the phone. As opposed to texting them, you could text for days. You could text 100 text messages. She's still not going to feel more comfortable because she read a couple more texts from you. So whenever a girl says, I need to feel more comfortable before I meet up with you, texting is not your way to the promised land. Calling her is. There's been numerous times where I've, texted girls to, meet up, and their responses were always positive, but they'd always come up with some bullshit excuse until I called them. I had a quick 5-minute conversation with them, and suddenly their schedule magically opens up and they're free the next day or the next night to hang out. That's what calling does. It cuts through all the bullshit. Instead of her having time to craft the perfect excuse of not meeting up with you, she's got 2 seconds to figure out, do I want to meet this guy or not? Okay, yeah, sounds like a plan. I'll meet you there. It cuts through all the bullshit. She can't be like, oh, let me wait hours before I, craft the perfect excuse that's, kind of believable. No, when you call a girl, you're going to get right to the point and figure out, does this girl want to see me or not? And that's the name of the game. You cut through all the bullshit. Thirdly, it reduces flakes. Your competition online, you're going to be competing with tons of other guys texting her all the time. When I call a girl, I immediately put myself above them. I'm no longer a set of JPEGs, some text messages. I'm a real person. So when she commits to a date with me saying yes, and she's talking to me on the phone saying, yes, I'll meet you tomorrow at this time, at this place, very likely she will not flake because she's talking to a real person. You know how easy it is for her to flake on guys that are just texting her? Oh, I'm just not going to reply to that. I'll just flake on his ass because he's just some JPEGs and some text messages. That's all he is. So you elevate yourself above the competition. As soon as you call her, you become a real person. It helps you screen out weirdos. I don't know about you guys, but I've been on dates where I knew immediately that this wasn't going to work. And if you're dealing with online girls, you've never met them before, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. When you call a girl and get her on the phone, you can find out immediately if she's some weirdo that you are not going to vibe with. And you can just save yourself some trouble of going on a date with her and save her the trouble as well. That 1 minute conversation you have with her, you can be like, look, this isn't going to work. I'll catch you later. Where As before, you would have spent all this time getting ready, and you meet up with this girl and you immediately know you guys do not click. Also, you can figure out if girls are DTF when you call them on the phone. There's been numerous times where I've called girls, and I've, being prepared to arrange a date close to my house at a bar or a frozen yogurt place. But as soon as I talk to her for like a couple minutes, I can figure out that she really digs me and she's really comfortable with me. And so I just change the plot and I just invite her straight over to my place for, drinks or food, and, Netflix, whatever. I just tell her to meet at my place and I'll make dinner for us. And boom, DTF, no date required. Just because I talked to her on the phone, I could figure out, how interested this girl really was. And lastly, this is the most important one. You have a million times more control over the conversation and the direction of, the whole dating process when you call her on the phone. How many times have you texted a girl, to arrange a date, and you're saying like, yeah, let's meet up at this place, this time, this day, and she leaves you on red. She looks at it, she doesn't reply. She essentially like ghosts you. Well, and you're left wondering like, oh, did I send the wrong text? Maybe my text game was bad. What happened? Yeah, it must have been my text game. That's what really like screwed it up. That's why she doesn't want to meet up with me. That doesn't happen when you call girls on the phone. When you call a girl on the phone, she can't leave you on red. She has to answer your question. And most often she'll be like, yes, I will meet you at this time, this place. And she does. She commits to it. Whereas over text, you're left wondering, my text game was bad. What happened? Well, must have been my text. That's what maybe screwed it up and made her not want to meet me. When you call her on the phone, you find out immediately if this girl really wants to meet you or if she's just wasting your time. So this is why, call girls. You have so much more control. This is why, sales, big ticket sales, whether that be cars, houses, it's never done over text. No salesman is going to be texting deals back and forth. No, they're going to call them on the phone to cut through all the bullshit. So a person can't send an offer and be like, let me think about it for hours on end and then I'll get back to you. No, you call them on the phone and you figure out exactly, you cut through all the bullshit so they can't be like, oh, no, I'll answer that question later. No, you can't do that when you're on the phone, which is why you have so much more control when you have someone on the phone as opposed to text, where you have no control over text. She can respond, she can leave it for later, she can do whatever. You're just sitting there waiting for it. So dumb. Okay, so I know there's going to be some guys out there complaining that, oh, young girls don't talk on the phone anymore. They're way too scared. That is so old school. That's exactly why calling works so effectively, because they don't do it a lot. And yes, that's totally true. Most girls do not talk on the phone, but you should be able to convince her to pick up the phone. If you can't convince, some 20-year-old, some 18-year-old chick to pick up the phone, then maybe you got some work to do. Maybe you've got to improve your persuasion skills a little, because that is not difficult to do. If you can't convince a girl to pick up the phone, how are you convince her to go on a date with you? Or, get even further than that? Get real. This is not rocket science. If a girl absolutely refuses to pick up the phone, she's wasting your time. There's been numerous times where girls have said I don't ever talk on the phone. I'm too scared. You just talk to her, you text her a little bit, convince her look, there's no pressure here. I'm not judging you. I just want to make sure you're a real person. That's all we're doing here. You don't want to go on a date with, I could be a total weirdo. So let's figure this out, right? Let's find out right away. That's why you have to approach it. That's how you have to frame it. And yes, there's been times where I've called a girl and she got scared and she didn't pick up the phone. She's like, sorry, I got really scared. And then I just say it's no big deal. Everything's going to be fine. No one's judging you here. I just want to make sure that you're a real person and that you're a normal person. And then like I just cut off the pressure way down, just like there's no pressure here. I just want to make sure you're like a real person. And then she's like, okay, like, and I send her, you know, I call her again, and she picks up the phone, and we have a great chat. And you know, you find out she's DTF and ready to come straight to your place. Like, that's how it works. You have to you have to convince her a little. You have to, you know, low pressure. And if you can't do that, maybe you're not cut out for this. Like, it's going to take some, you know, coaxing sometimes. But once you do it, once you've got the hang of this, like, I'll never look back. There's no way I'm texting my way, you know, trying to arrange dates anymore. Complete waste of time. So let's get into how you actually get girls to pick up the phone. Because yeah, a lot of the girls are very hesitant because, you know, they never do this. Okay, let's go through how to actually get girls on the phone. So here's what I send them. I send them an icebreaker text. It says like, hey Kylie, this is Tom from Tinder. Save my number, smiley face. And Kylie will respond back, yeah, sure. Okay, got it saved. Hey, I'm going to call you in 6 minutes. And usually she'll be like, haha, very, very precise. And then I wait 6 minutes and then I call her on the phone and she picks up. And then we have a little chat. Now, if she says after I send that text where I'm like, I'm going to call you in 7 minutes or 4 minutes, and they're like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm scared. Then it's going to take you to, you know, convince her. You're going to have to coax her and reassure her that it's not a big deal. There's no pressure. You just want to make sure she's real. And, you know, you're telling her that you should make sure I'm real as well. You know, because you don't want to go on a date with some weirdo, right? So that's how you have to frame it. Okay, so let's say you told her, like, that's what I'm going to call you. That's the time I'm going to call you. And she picks up. What now? What do you talk about? You know, you've got her on the phone. What do you do now? And you talk about pretty much anything. You just ask her questions. Hey, how's her day going? How's her night going? Like, what is she up to? You know, I usually get into, does she drive or does she take transit? Because this helps me coordinate, like, exactly how I want her to, like, meet me. You know, if she's taking transit, then I'll tell her, like, yeah, I can pick you up at this train station. Things like that. And I find out, like, you know, like what she's up to. What are you up to tomorrow? And she's like, oh, like I got to work and then I have school till 4 or whatever. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Are you free at like 7 o'clock tomorrow night? You know, after you work or after you have school. And that right away puts her on the spot. You know, like she can't think about an excuse like, oh no, like, because she's already said like, yeah, I'm pretty much free, you know, tomorrow night. You pretty much just tell her, you know, you want to meet up at this place at this time tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And yeah, usually she'll say, yeah, sounds like a plan. Like that works. Or maybe she'll say like, I can't make it. Like I've got this done, this to do. And then you just move on to the next day. And if she's from online, yes, I only schedule it 2 days in advance. I don't go any further than that. If she's a girl from the Cold Approach, then I can schedule it like 5 days away. It doesn't really matter because, you know, there's less competition. But online, you have to schedule it within 2 days. So if she can't meet within 2 days, this is very rare. Usually they can. Then I'll just say like, hey, like I'll call you back in a little bit, like when your schedules open up. And I just leave her be for a little bit until like 2 days has passed. Then I'll try to, you know, call her again and reschedule again. But you don't want to like schedule dates farther than 2 days because the flake rate goes sky high after that. So yeah, you ask her like what she's up to tomorrow and she'll say like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Like, okay, so are you free at this time? Yeah. And usually she'll say like, yeah, that works. And you've got yourself a date. Way more effective than any kind of texting bullshit. And yes, I even do this with girls on Cold Approach as well. It's mandatory in my book to call girls from online because you don't know who they are. You've never met them before. But even girls from Cold Approach, I absolutely hate pitching a date and having a girl not reply to me and wondering like, what happened? Like, what was the problem? And that never happens when you call a girl. And by calling a girl, you find out right away whether she's in or out, whether she's just kind of wasting your time or whether she's actually serious about meeting up. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching.